I know it's joining 2021 and I'm making a video about my learnings from 2020. Well, you know, the other day I was thinking about 2020. What a tough year. There were so many things that affected us in different ways. And I personally think that for me, it affected me from two sources: external factors and internal factors, right? External factors are all the things that we had to deal with, like COVID, politics. It was an election year. So much social divisiveness, really everything got canceled. Internal factors, and I don't know if that was kind of a result of what was going on in our world, but for me, I personally felt stuck professionally. Personally, you know, I'm in my 40s. What am I doing with my career? I felt social media like burnout and overload. I was done with it. I was not motivated to train and take care of my body, really, because what's the point, right? Everything is canceled. But you know what? I am glad that I experienced all of this last year, because I feel that I had an awakening in 2020. You know, yes, last year was tough. It challenged us, it demoralized us, but it also taught us a lot. This video is not only for me to share my personal journey, but also because I imagine that you have experienced, or maybe you're still experiencing, some of the things that I went through. And you know, I wanted to let you know that you are not alone. Life is a journey and that we're all a work in progress. So maybe you'll find some of these learnings useful as well. Ready to go deep? What's up, everyone? Hugo here. Welcome back to the Chasquis channel. Okay, but before talking about my learnings, I want to share with you how I felt in 2020. First, I felt lost professionally. You see, I have a background in corporate, doing marketing. I got my MBA from business school, so I built this path over the last 10 plus years, and I was seriously considering going back to it. So I started applying for jobs, and when you go, of course, through a job application, it's tough, right? You compete with other people, the interviews, and you make it to other rounds, and then you get rejected. So it's tough. It takes a lot of time and energy. It's draining. What I found interesting is that I never really found myself committing 100% to that path. You know, I was always like, okay, maybe I should apply for a job, and then I was just trying to get back to doing the things that I was doing with Chasquis, because I always knew that I was meant to do something different than going back to corporate. So it was very hard to make a decision, really, like, should I do this or should I keep doing Chasquis? So felt lost there. Strong fear of failure and self-doubt. Again, going back to my career, I was like, am I failing in my career? What am I supposed to do? You know, our personal finances and our financial well-being. Thinking, are we bringing enough income to our family, or how are we gonna keep doing what we're doing? Having that self-doubt of not being to where I thought I was supposed to be as an entrepreneur by now, you know. So those are the different things that really stopped me from keep being excited and keep moving forward, because I was just kind of paralyzed with fear and doubt. All right, I bet this is a very common one. I was worried about what people would say. For me, it was more related with my career. Again, I've built this career in corporate, have an MBA, work for all these companies, and then I'm doing this, and you know, I'm not where I'm supposed to be, where at least I think I'm supposed to be. So worried about letting my family and my loved ones down. And of course, you also compare yourself to the people, your friends, your peers. And so you go to all these social media platforms, right? And Facebook and Instagram, LinkedIn, and you see all these different posts, and you're like, man, I'm not there yet, but I just want to be there, but I'm not there yet. So it's like this is struggle. Right now, the tricky thing about social media, and of course, I'm sure you know, there's a lot of fake news, right? We portray ourselves as, I think that everything is perfect, that we're killing it, and that's not necessarily true. Living in the past, I was asking myself, what have I accomplished lately? You did all these great things in your 20s, in your 30s, all these wins and successes. What have you accomplished in your 40s? Not only that, but you also tell yourself, wow, you failed a lot of times in the last few years. What makes you think that you're going to improve, that you're going to do better in the future? Constantly beating myself up and lots of negative talk. The negative talk would always be constant. Not good enough, you're not making progress. Even hard stuff like you're a loser, you know, or I would just tell myself, dude, you're in your 40s right now. You're gonna be 50 soon. then you're gonna be 60. What are you accomplishing? Sometimes you find those things hijacking your routine. You're working or you're doing something, and then all of a sudden you start just getting in this dynamic of talking to yourself very badly. That's not good. So what did I start doing to help me to deal with these things better, to cope better? Well, first I started reading, right? And I started reading because I needed to find answers, you know? I needed to find advice and information that will help me feel better. For me, reading was intentional. You know, I would not focus on novels or science fiction books, for instance. It was always self-discipline, building habits, self-help, and more. And I needed to find information that will help me to get out of this rut and help me to get back on track to work on becoming the person that I know I can be. And reading has really helped me to not only understand how I was feeling, but also to find ways to help me deal with those feelings. So I cannot stress enough how life-changing reading has been for me. Last year I read 20 plus books. This year I'm planning to read 40 plus books. And I started journaling. What's interesting is that the more I started reading about building habits and discipline, the more I learned about the importance of journaling. It was so great because I felt that I needed an anchor. I needed a place where I could write down my thoughts, my feelings, my frustrations, my goals, my dreams. So little by little, learning more about how to journal basically helped me to become more disciplined, to start implementing habits and build that into my routine every day. So now I do this every day, twice a day. I rediscovered my appreciation for routine and self-discipline, because the more I started reading and learning about habits and structure and routine, the more I started testing and implementing those things in my life. So I started creating my own routine. Like I would start waking up early, I would start visualizing, I would start doing all these other things. And the more you do that, the more you embrace that. So your routine becomes your own ritual. And you really learn to appreciate and love that so much that you think that, you know, ritual is sacred. You do it no matter what. That's something that I really appreciated. And also, you start realizing that routine gives you a lot of control. Why is that? Because you structure your time better. So it gives you this control and flexibility, which also gives you this freedom, you know, to be able to do more things. And when you can do more things, you feel better. It gives you, not only makes you feel more happy, but it also gives you this inner peace, like you're feeling more accomplished. I started practicing some visualization, you know, and again, after reading more and more, I would learn different ways and techniques to visualize, and I would just put them to the test. So I would be like, okay, this is working, this not so much, so I would stop doing that. And so I incorporated and created my own visualization technique, and it's great because it's a great way to think about not only your ultimate goals, where you want to be a year from now, 5 years from now, whatever, but also like you visualize and think about the process, what you need to do to help you to get there. Paying less attention to social media, because like I said before, I was feeling burnout, all this social media overload, that I started deleting some apps from my phone, and I even stopped watching the news, because I remember telling myself, look, if there's something that's really important, really critical, that you really need to know, you're eventually going to know it. So I stopped doing both of those things. Now I'm curious, what would you say, what was the most challenging thing you experienced in 2020? Let me know in the comments below. So once I started putting all those things together into practice, several things happened. First, mindset. Mindset started changing. I started getting excited about the journey ahead. What else? Got clear about what I wanted in life. Now I feel that I have a mission in life. And lastly, I'd just say I started improving on several skills and practices, like just practicing more gratitude, being more present, worrying less about the things that I can't control. So from all that learning, here are my top 10 life lessons that I learned in 2020. Number 1, you have to find purpose. What's your mission in life? You gotta live proactively and with intention, with urgency. You know, you have to find your gifts and use them and share them with the world, and remind yourself that life is short, life is pressure. You know, use this very short time that you have on earth to be your best. You're always a student. For me, it started with my reading. I started reading one book, another book. Then I started developing this curiosity and thirst for reading and learning more stuff, and I'm really, really excited about where that takes me. And the same thing with interests or developing a skill or working on a hobby. Try to get better at it, and not only that, but also master that craft, that hobby. For instance, for me, one of the things that I'm working on this year is with my gravel cycling. Not only to be a better rider, but also to learn more about the whole mechanical and technical part. So I started hanging out and riding with a friend who is really great at, experience at doing all kinds of races, and he's really good with, taking care of the bike. So I feel that every time I meet with him, I learn so much, and I'm just trying to be like a sponge. Dance with fear. My approach on how I deal with fear these days has changed, because I used to think that I needed to be fearless, right? But then I read the book, The Confidence Gap, and in that book, you learn that, look, fear is always going to be there, but you need to act in spite of it. You need to find a way to keep moving forward. You cannot let fear paralyze you, stop you. Yes, acknowledge that's there, and also, if possible, try to see it in a more objective way. So now I find myself these days kind of seeing fear in an objective way. So when I see it coming to me, I'm like, oh yeah, you're about to show up, but it doesn't matter. I'm going to keep moving forward. So I acknowledge the fear shows up, but then I keep going no matter what. I learn to dance with fear. Embrace failure. I know I've talked about this before, but what a concept, right? The fact that it's okay to fail. The fact that it's okay to keep trying and trying until you figure things out. And be proud of that. Be proud for taking chances, for not following the easy path. To use each of your previous quote-unquote failures as learning lessons, as stepping stones that will help you to be better the next time. And the cool thing is that, the more you fail, the more you figure things out for the future. Up to you. It's so true. I think especially if you are an entrepreneur, or if you're responsible for your own business, it's not like when you have a job and you have specific responsibilities and you earn a salary no matter what. No, here it's up to you. You have to have skin in the game. No one is coming to save you. You cannot wait for someone to come and tell you how to do things, the right things to do. It's up to you to take initiative, and do the thing no matter what. Because honestly, like the quote says, if you think you can or can't, you're right. And by having that big responsibility, it also brings such a strong sense of satisfaction, because you're just creating and building that progress by yourself. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Don't wait for anybody to come and help you. Up to you. Beware of ego and resistance. This is very interesting, because I knew that I was experiencing the feelings of ego and resistance, but I was not aware of them. I didn't even know how to call them. And it wasn't until I started reading about this that I realized that, wow, yeah, I need to do a lot of work on them. Because ego and resistance are invisible forces. They're very, very powerful. If you don't work on making your best effort to just minimize them and getting rid of them, they're going to stop you, from making progress, from being your best, from taking chances. So from now on, beware of ego and resistance. This is an obvious one, but you gotta play the long game. Enough with shortcuts, enough of expecting to get meaningful results in the short term, not only with work, but also with your training, with your nutrition, with your wellness, play the long game. Good things, let me say this again, great things take time, no shortcut. There's no overnight success. Ritual is sacred. And of course, I'm talking about my daily routine, but I like to think of it more as a ritual, because it's something that's become true part of myself, right? So it's not just a random sets of things that I do every day. It's more than that. It's much more meaningful. That's why I call it a ritual. And I say that it's sacred because it's something that I do every day. It's something that has a strong meaning in my life. It's something that's very mine, that's very intimate part of my life, that I know it helps me to be a better person. Live a life based on core values and identity. So my identity is the person that I want to be, the person that I want to become. But instead of waiting to get there, I start living like that person. I assume that identity. So I become that person now instead of waiting for that. And of course, it's a journey, it takes time, but you start living that life. And the other thing is my core values. This is a list of 10 to 13 things I think 6 months ago wrote down. And these are things, principles that I try to follow every single day, no matter what. every single day, no matter what, like waking up early, trying to eat as healthy as possible, practicing gratitude, practicing generosity, etc. And the last lesson learned, and I don't know if this makes sense or if it's a little cheesy, but here we go. Live a beautiful life, full with wisdom, vitality, peace, and love. Beautiful because it's a whole package, right? Personal development, professional development, doing things, achieving things. Live a life full with wisdom. Wisdom because, you know what, having things, it's nice. Buying things and having things is nice, but I don't know, knowledge, spirituality, improving your mindset, it's something that it's huge, at least for me. Vitality because I want to be a strong dude, not only in my 50s, but 60s, 70s, and 80s, you know. Peace and love. I mean, is there anything else to say? Thank you for watching this video. I hope you find it useful. And again, I didn't want to make it just to share my own journey, but maybe as a wake-up call, especially if you feel that you need to make a change in your life or that you need to get back control of your life. Remember, you can do anything that you set your mind to, but also remember that life is short. The life is precious. And you know, whatever thing you strongly feel in your heart, you know, about what you're supposed to do with your life, listen to that voice. You know, come up with a plan, establish clear goals, and work towards that. As always, thank you for watching. See you next week. Time to chesky up.